close your eyes and imagine a world without air. Not just polluted air, not smoky, not toxic, but no oxygen at all. No breath, no life, just silence. That world isn't science fiction. It is Earth's past, and it could be Earth's future. The Great Oxidation Event. 2.5 billion years ago, the Earth looked nothing like the blue planet we know. The skies were orange, the oceans green, bubbling with methane. Life existed, but it was microbial, strange, and fragile. Then something happened. Tiny bacteria, called cyanobacteria, learned a trick: photosynthesis. They began producing oxygen as waste. At first, this was nothing, just a trace gas in the atmosphere. But slowly it built up, and then the Great Oxidation Event began. Oxygen, the double-edged sword. You might think more oxygen was a miracle, but for early life, oxygen was poison. Anaerobic organisms, which thrived without oxygen, were wiped out in mass die-offs. For them, oxygen was the apocalypse. It's one of the greatest paradoxes in Earth's history. The gas we depend on for life today once killed almost everything alive. A planet reborn. Over millions of years, oxygen reshaped the planet. The oceans rusted, turning iron into stone. The skies cleared, sunlight pierced deeper. Complex life became possible. Every breath you take now is a gift from that ancient catastrophe. But here's the chilling twist. Oxygen is not permanent. Scientists believe Earth could lose its breathable atmosphere again, long before the sun dies. We think of oxygen as eternal, but history proves otherwise. In Chapter 2, Oxygen and Extinction, we'll explore how fluctuations in oxygen shaped life and death, from the Cambrian Explosion to mass extinctions, and what small changes in oxygen levels would mean for us. Oxygen has never been constant. It rises, it falls, and every time it shifts, life is rewritten. 1. The Cambrian Explosion. 500 million years ago, oxygen levels climbed, and with it came one of the greatest bursts of diversity in Earth's history, the Cambrian Explosion. For the first time, oxygen was abundant enough to support large, complex animals. Creatures with skeletons, shells, eyes, predators, and prey. Without that rise in oxygen, we may never have existed at all. 2. The oxygen roller coaster. But oxygen giveth and oxygen taketh away. Around 250 million years ago, during the Permian extinction, oxygen levels plummeted. The ocean stagnated, methane surged, and over 90% of life on Earth died. It remains the deadliest extinction in history. Later, during the Devonian extinction, oxygen dips wiped out vast marine ecosystems. Again and again, the rise and fall of oxygen acted like a switch, flipping between life and death. 3. Modern lessons. Here's the part most people don't realize. Earth's oxygen today isn't guaranteed to stay stable. Even small drops in oxygen would devastate us. At 15% oxygen, compared to today's 21%, most people would struggle to think clearly. At 12%, altitude sickness symptoms kick in at sea level. Below 10%, survival is measured in minutes. You don't need a billion-year crash to feel the pain. Just a few percentage points down, and cities would become unlivable. 4. The ocean warning. And we already see signs. Oxygen levels in the world's oceans are declining due to climate change. Dead zones, regions with little or no oxygen, have quadrupled since 1950. The ocean produces about half of the oxygen we breathe. If that system falters, humanity will face a crisis faster than we imagine. Oxygen built the stage for life, but it has also pulled the curtain more than once. And as history shows, the next curtain call may not be millions of years away. We think of oxygen as eternal. Every breath feels like a right, not a privilege. But science paints a different picture. Oxygen on Earth has a beginning, and it will have an end. 1. The long forecast. Astrobiologists studying Earth's atmosphere predict that in about 1 billion years, oxygen will vanish. Not because of pollution, not because of war, but because of the sun itself. As our star brightens with age, more energy will hit Earth's surface. This will speed up the breakdown of carbon dioxide, the gas plants need for photosynthesis. With less CO2, plants will die. No plants means no photosynthesis. And no photosynthesis means no oxygen. The Earth would slowly return to a methane-rich atmosphere, similar to its state before the Great Oxidation Event. Complex life, like us, would suffocate. 2. The faster clocks. But here's the unsettling truth. We may not need to wait a billion years. Even today, scientists observe signs that oxygen is slipping in dangerous places. The oceans, which produce about half our oxygen, are developing vast dead zones. Rising global temperatures reduce the ocean's ability to hold oxygen, suffocating marine life. Deforestation erases the Amazon's role as the lungs of the planet. These aren't billion-year trends. They're happening now. A few centuries of reckless human activity could mimic processes that nature once took millions of years. 3. A fragile threshold. The scariest part? We don't need a total oxygen collapse to feel disaster. At 19% oxygen, just a small drop from today's 21%, athletes begin to struggle. At 15%, ordinary people experience dizziness and confusion. At 12%, the world feels like the top of Mount Everest, deadly without support. Cities could become unlivable long before oxygen is gone. 4. Survival or exodus. If Earth does head toward oxygen collapse, whether slowly or quickly, humanity has two paths. Geoengineering the atmosphere, creating artificial systems to maintain oxygen balance, perhaps massive biodomes or ocean-restoring technologies. Leaving Earth behind, colonizing Mars, building orbital habitats, or turning to synthetic biology to design humans who don't need oxygen at all. Either way, survival would demand technology far beyond what we have today. The oxygen we take for granted isn't guaranteed. It's a temporary gift from the Earth's chemistry, one that can be taken back. And if we don't act, the future may be not a fire or flood, but a silence, a planet that simply stops breathing. In Chapter 4, The Human Struggle for Breath, we'll explore what daily life might look like in an oxygen-starved Earth, how civilizations would adapt, fight, or collapse in the face of a breathless planet. Picture the future. You wake up in a city that feels heavier, not because of pollution or smog, but because oxygen levels have dropped just a few percent. Every step feels harder. Every breath burns. Hospitals overflow with people fainting, gasping, confused. This isn't a science fiction movie. This is what life would look like on a planet slowly losing its air. 1. The first warning signs. It wouldn't start with mass death. It would start with symptoms. Shortness of breath during exercise. Altitude sickness at sea level. Rising infant mortality. Animals dying in low oxygen dead zones. Scientists warn we're already seeing miniature versions of this in oceans, where fish flee collapsing ecosystems. Now imagine that in our cities. 2. The collapse of civilization. As oxygen drops further, entire systems unravel. Agriculture. Plants die without stable oxygen-carbon cycles. Yields collapse. Industry. Fires burn weekly. Factories can't run. Planes struggle to fly. Society. Riots erupt as people fight for oxygen masks, bottled air, underground shelters. The black market would no longer sell gold or oil. It would sell breath. 3. Adaptation or extinction. Humans are resilient. Civilizations would try to adapt. Megacities building sealed oxygen domes. Breathing technologies, from portable oxygen tanks to engineered lungs. Genetic engineering, designing humans who can survive on thinner air. But adaptation comes at a cost. Inequality would skyrocket. The rich breathe freely while the poor suffocate. 4. The personal story. Now pause and imagine. A mother giving her child an oxygen mask before school. Farmers planting crops that no longer sprout. Oceans littered with floating fish, gasping at the surface. This is what it looks like when Earth stops breathing. Not instant, but slow, cruel, inevitable. Every breath we take today feels ordinary. But in a world where oxygen becomes scarce, every breath would feel like a countdown. We often think of apocalypse in human terms: war, climate collapse, asteroids. But there is another apocalypse written into the laws of astrophysics and geochemistry. A slow death, a suffocation of an entire planet. And it is coming. 1. The solar clock. The sun is not static. Every billion years, it burns about 10% hotter. That tiny increase may sound harmless, but to Earth it is catastrophic. As the sun brightens, surface temperatures rise. Oceans evaporate faster. And CO2, the gas plants depend on, gets stripped from the atmosphere by chemical reactions with rocks. No CO2 means no photosynthesis. No photosynthesis means no oxygen. The planet will begin to choke. 2. The timeline. Astrobiologists predict the oxygen crash will happen in about 1 billion years, long before the sun engulfs Earth in 5 billion years. Step by step, plants die off. Animals collapse soon after. The ocean's oxygen sinks or exhausted. Slowly, the atmosphere flips back to its ancient state. Nitrogen, methane, and carbon monoxide. Earth will resemble not the blue marble we know, but a toxic alien planet. 3. The return to an alien Earth. Imagine standing on that future Earth. The sky no longer blue, but hazy orange. The oceans bubbling with green sulfur bacteria. Air unbreathable for any human. It would look more like Mars or Titan than the Earth we know. And here's the most haunting part. Life will not end completely. Microbes, extremophiles, and strange anaerobic organisms will thrive again. Life will continue, just not life like us, for what it means for us. We won't be here in a billion years. But the oxygen crash is more than distant science. It's a reminder of how fragile our breathable world really is. A reminder that oxygen itself is not guaranteed. That civilizations are built not on technology or politics, but on the invisible air we take for granted. Earth has stopped breathing before, and one day it will stop again. The only question is, will humanity still be here to notice? When oxygen vanishes, life as we know it dies. But humanity has always done one thing better than any other species: adapt. So the question is, if Earth stops breathing, can we survive? 1. Engineering the atmosphere. The first option is bold: fight nature itself. Geoengineering, mega projects to artificially pump oxygen back into the air. Imagine orbital mirrors redirecting sunlight, or machines as big as skyscrapers splitting water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. Terraforming Earth. Just as we dream of terraforming Mars, we could one day terraform our own planet, rebalancing its chemistry to keep oxygen flowing. But here's the catch. Maintaining a breathable atmosphere for billions of people would require technology at a planetary scale, almost godlike in complexity. 2. Sealed worlds. If the sky cannot breathe for us, we may build new skies. Oxygen domes, vast megacities sealed under glass, where oxygen is manufactured and recycled. Underwater habitats, taking advantage of deep ocean environments that can be oxygen regulated. Biodomes on steroids, controlled ecosystems, each one a miniature Earth, keeping a fragile balance alive. These ideas echo science fiction, but so did space stations once. 3. Biological reinvention. The next path is rewriting ourselves. Genetic engineering. Scientists could design humans to thrive on thinner air or even metabolize differently, like microbes that survive without oxygen. Cyborg hybrids, fusing technology and biology so humans carry internal oxygen batteries. Synthetic biology, creating plants or artificial organisms that can churn out oxygen at industrial scales. It's not just about saving Earth, it's about saving the definition of humanity. 4. Leaving Earth behind. But maybe survival doesn't mean staying. Colonies on Mars or orbital habitats could sustain oxygen artificially. Terraforming other planets becomes less fantasy more necessity. Generation ships might carry human DNA to distant stars, seeding life elsewhere. But here's the irony. The race to leave Earth may happen long before oxygen collapse. Not because we want to go, but because we can't stay. 5. The cost of survival. Survival won't be equal. The wealthy may retreat into oxygen-rich domes. The poor may suffocate in dying cities. Wars may erupt over the last breathable air, the last green valleys, the last functioning biodomes. The struggle for oxygen may become the greatest struggle in human history. So yes, survival is possible. But survival may not look like the world we know. It may look like domes, machines, and hybrids of human and machine. It may look like a species clinging to life in a world that has forgotten how to breathe. In Chapter 7, The Last Breath, we'll confront the ultimate truth. Whether humanity adapts or escapes, Earth itself will one day fall silent. And when that happens, will we still call ourselves human? Every story has an ending, and Earth's story is no different. One day, the last tree will wither. The last ocean will turn sour. The last breath of oxygen will vanish into space. The world will not burn in fire, nor drown in flood, but suffocate quietly under the weight of its own silence. 1. A world without breath. The skies, once blue, will glow orange. The seas, once alive, will reek of methane. The air, once filled with laughter, bird song, and wind, will be still. Earth will return to what it was before oxygen. A planet alive, perhaps, but not with us. 2. Humanity's choice. The question is not whether Earth will suffocate. It will. The question is whether humanity will be here to witness it. Will we adapt with domes, machines, engineered bodies? Will we escape to Mars, to space, to new worlds? Or will we vanish? Another chapter in the book of Extinctions, forgotten like the trilobites? The decision isn't written in stone. It is written in us, in the choices we make now, about climate, about technology, about survival. 3. The last reflection. Every breath you take today is a reminder. It is a gift, ancient, fragile, temporary. 1 billion years of photosynthesis condensed into the air you just inhaled. One day, Earth will exhale its last. But maybe, just maybe, humanity will have learned enough to carry the breath of life beyond this planet. When Earth stops breathing, will also mean the end of us? Or will it be the moment we finally prove that life can outgrow its cradle? If this video left you with chills, don't let the journey end here. Watch the Grey Goose scenario, when nanobots eat the world. Explore zombie viruses in the ice. Binge the full Apocalypse playlist. Subscribe to NetraVerse, because here we go beyond curiosity. We explore the mysteries that others fear to ask and bring you the answers free. The future is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the story of survival is still being written.